Councillor Loftus.
Moved by Councillor LaFramboise and seconded by Councillor Loftus, be it resolved, the Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of St. Charles hereby opens the Committee of the Whole meeting at 6 p.m. on May 7, 2025.
All those in favor? Carried. We would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Robinson-Huron Treaty Territory, and the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Atebeginic Atabanexni. Say it once for me, s'il te plaît. Atebeginic Anishinaabe. We also wish to recognize our neighboring community of Dokis First Nation. While we meet today, we would like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands we each call home. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relationships between nations and to improving our own understanding of local indigenous people and their culture. I had a little bit of difficulty with that. All right, next, can I move in the seconder to adopt the agenda? Councillor Lachance and Councillor Loftus.
Moved by Councillor Lachance and seconded by Councillor Loftus, be it resolved that the agenda for the Committee of the Whole meeting held May 7, 2025 be adopted as presented.
All those in favor? Carried. Disclosure of pecuniary interests.
And your worship.
Okay, Councillor Loftus.
Yes, one for myself, 7.1.1, St. Charles Lions Club. Request from them, as I'm a Lions member.
All right. Councillor Lachance.
And none for myself.
And I will also declare item 7.1.1 since I am also a member of the Lions Club. We are supposed to have a presentation today. The gentleman that's making the presentation has not arrived. I was hoping we could just postpone it till later in the agenda. Do we have an agreement on that?
Yes.
Okay. Therefore, we will continue. Item 7. Oops. Can you take over? Oh, announcements and inquiries. Thank you very much. From okay. From members of the council.
None for myself.
And none for myself. Is that him?
No.
No.
Okay. Therefore, please take over.
7.1.1, report title request from St. Charles Lions Club, prepared by David Sickle.
Okay, yes, worship too. So a request was received from the Lions Club. They are they're establishing themselves, trying to find themselves a den to operate out of, and they have submitted a letter which is attached. I don't know if council has read it, and so the report is mainly to see if there's for all small clubs. The council's chamber was always a free given for small events, whether it was the Ego Senior committee meeting, stuff like that. The Lions have been using it. They do have a few staff members on it, and they volunteer to lock and unlock the doors, so no staff is required. But in the long run, it's probably difficult to be used as a den. So they are requesting use of the arena hall for Lions Club meeting, planning. This would be for like their meeting, not planning of the event. So if they're holding a Mother's Day event, a brunch, they would pay with hopefully a discount, which is their second request of that's on the meeting, which is on the following one. So again, it's in before council. Understanding the Lions Club is nonprofit. They're a service club. The charitable. Well, they are going for their charitable charter, as I understand. And so it's before council for this discussion. If this consideration for free, 10% discount, or cleaning cost.
Just wondering for clarification, I know they mentioned, so they're using the council chambers right now for free. they've also, mentioned, the use of the arena hall. So is this big enough for them, or would they rather have the arena hall as the meeting?
So I know they are, I don't know the,
Sorry.
yeah, in the letter, yeah,
Doesn't tell many they have, but it's just.
yeah, but knowing that the Lions Club can grow and become small, I know the one in Marks Day, they have a room adjacent to the hall, and I think they sit around 25 chairs, and so it's, and I think they're standing at 22 members from Q, trying not to look.
So this would be their preferred, the first?
The preferred would be like probably a bigger room where they can probably store stuff. I know they have long-term ambition of a permanent den where they can actually store supplies. And I don't know if it was mentioned in that one of the rear room. No, they, yeah, I'm just going through the letter. Because it was mentioned to me in, verbally that they are looking at, one of the unoccupied rooms, as a permanent, location for their den. Obviously, there's only one, in the rear of the arena. It's, basically, needs renovation, needs a new floor. It probably needs somebody to look at the floor to make sure that it won't collapse, but it's been used by the hockey team for a little while. They have water, they have a toilet in there. Unfortunately, there's access issues potentially for the 36 hallway. So I'm just going by what they're requesting in the moment. And it's for use of the arena for their meetings. And if council wants to discuss the merit of opening up the back, I know we're missing the other chair of the committee, Parks and Rec committee, but if council wants to look at potentially working with the Lions to create a den, a permanent den at the arena, that would probably be one of their goals, is to have a permanent center to deliver similar to the Warren's Lion District Club. Got it.
So right now, really, we're looking at to see if we continue with the council chambers for the meetings. I just wanna make sure we're clarifying, cause it states like, so option one is to continue offer free use of council chambers for Lions meeting, but then at the bottom it says use of arena hall for Lions club meeting. So I'm just not sure, I just wanna make sure that
I
if
think
we're
what
gonna.
they prefer is, like, the way I read it, was
The
that
arena?
they're looking for the arena, but they'll still accept this if it's,
Like, I don't have a problem as long as we
Yeah,
are aware,
and
like,
that's my understanding too, because
okay,
there's no place to store anything here. What they
Exactly.
come with, they leave with.
okay. I'm okay with, being that, you know, they're slowly establishing themselves, and it's gonna be a good asset for the, community that they do get, free for meetings, and then for rental, for fundraising and stuff. I don't see why we can't put them on a 10% discount, like everyone else, that qualifies. Councilor Lachance, what's your?
So we don't know how many members exactly, say around 20, 25. I think it was 25 or something at the last time we had a discussion regarding it. What is, you know, what the meeting attendance is, percentages, like, is it always like, I know it's a new club, so maybe high attendance right now, or?
No, unfortunately, I don't have that information. We just have to assume that they are having between 20, 25, and those were the numbers that I remember receiving. Whether they'll grow from there or get smaller, it's a new club, so.
I'm just thinking that I know that right now, this might be smaller for them, for 25 people. I think the arena hall is massive for 25 people, and I'm just trying to think in between, like, I'm pretty sure we still have one vacant classroom on top of the school. I don't know if that can be made available for Lions Club meetings, just for the meetings, not for storage of the stuff or anything right now, but it might also get them used to having that, and they're looking for a den. So, if they like the space, maybe it's something they pursue to rent, and we already know that the prices there are very reasonable. So that's just my kind of thinking outside For me, right, there is one vacant classroom, rental unit of the school right now.
So in theory, it would be two on occupied. One is currently the
Storage room.
yoga. The second one is empty. The third one, the second to the room, the two other rooms, is Alpha Partage. There's where Contact Null is, so technically that one is also vacant. There is a DSAP pod that is available to anyone in the community to go there. But again, the understanding with DSAP is if we have a rental, they can ask you to leave. If you use that hall at night, there's no, there's a pod, so I don't think anybody accesses at night. And the last classroom is, so there's two,
But even with the yoga and stuff, that only happens certain days, certain times, but that's like,
yeah,
they
so
do rent, they rent it per session?
currently it's per month. There's a request to rent per day, or per day now, because summer, the attendance has dropped off. So, we are looking at that as staff, so I got a request,
Well,
last
if you're
week.
looking at a per day rental there, my understanding, the Lions Club meeting would be also on a per day, rental, because it's, I'm not sure how many meetings a month, so I would assume probably one or two.
Yeah.
So, if you're already looking at that, maybe that'd be a good opportunity to include both there, because the size, it's large enough for them, and it's not too obscene, and the cleaning costs would be lower, and you don't have to have staff present like at the arena you would, right?
Yeah.
Because we're trying to avoid using that space for just letting people in without having staff there. So.
Yes, and, it's like everything else. So are you considering what a fee at the school?
Yeah, like if you're coming to a day, a per meeting fee at the school, I'm sure, it can be discussed, but I'm also, if there's potential to rent out one of those units long-term, monthly, like I don't know,
So-
kind of, it'd be nice to have somebody here to poke and prod a little bit for it.
Yeah, so we may have a person representing the Lions Club, take the answers and do long-term, how many meetings per month, will they be more active in summer, the days of the week preferred. And, because I'm going to be bringing back the per day rental, because I'm just talking with her now, figure out our rate and then come back in, probably the next meeting in 2 weeks to, like, because it's a sending a fee, so I can't just set a fee like that, I gotta,
No, I understand.
so.
And that's, in the meantime, I don't see an issue with them using this space, but I think maybe just a little bit more time for us to make a decision of where a more suitable home would be if we're doing it, pro bono or discount, right? So I'm okay with them continuing to use the space here. I think we should just look into it a little bit more. Does that make sense?
It would be only meeting the meetings at
What's that,
the,
sorry?
at the school, like you're
Yeah,
looking
same.
more as the meetings.
Yeah, for now, like, if there's already something open, I don't know what time the meetings are at, of course, like, I don't know none of those details, so it's kinda hard to plan for that, but.
And you'd like to charge for the meeting?
If they're going into, again, it's loaded, because if they're looking for a place as a den, would that be a place they're considering as a den? If so, maybe make an agreement that, well, if you use it, once or twice a month or whatever for so long, and then after that, you pretty much know if you like it or not, and just thoughts.
I think we'll need more information
Okay.
before making
We could
decisions.
request,
Yes, yeah.
Those renovations out at the arena won't be cheap, so I think it's,
council could always put conditions that, they foot the bill for all renovations.
yeah, it's not really helping them get their feet off the ground now, if you kind of throwing things. But yeah, just maybe, continue to offer this, in my opinion, and then
Yeah.
after that, we'll have a more detailed report, and maybe with what we discussed here, maybe shoot that back at,
Yeah, and maybe,
Yeah.
next meeting, invite somebody, to fully, their plans, their vision, because I just know what they're doing now, but I don't know what they're gonna be planning for 6 months or 3 months. And then that might enlighten council to say, oh, they're gonna be supporting our seniors or our kids, or
Mhm.
they're just, I don't know, it's like, okay, so.
Well, the accessibility is easy over there at the school, I mean, there's already the elevator and stuff, but they don't have that issue with the hallway not being handicap accessible and the stairwell to back, and so there's just a lot of stuff right now. It would only make sense for me right now if we were to make another venue available, would be somewhere over there, in my opinion, other than this one.
Yes.
So do we have a decision at least on the list of qualified organizations?
The 10%
I agree
discount.
to that as well.
Yeah,
okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for that. Next item on the agenda, 7.1.2, Canada Day by Denis Turcot.
Yes, unlike last year, I'm not waiting the 2 weeks before, so to give people a chance at council to start the planning or give direction to staff to move forward on items, particularly on the fireworks. Last year, we had the fireworks that were left over from the previous year. This year, if we do decide to buy fireworks, it will impact the budget. The good news is we did receive more money than last year, and I think
470.
more than was in the budget. So the budget, so we have that extra amount. So the $2,270, that's the only funds that have restrictions on it. So you can't buy food. So there's a list from the promotional expenses, cake for Canada Day cake, traditional foods, fireworks, and that's traditionally where the money for that went. Expense for the design, like flags and decorations. And ineligible is all the good stuff, where the barbecue, the food, the prizes, and any types of other purchases. So that being said, so that we can start looking for community partners or council to get ready to deliver something similar to last year. Last year, like, it was last minute, but it was a fairly good Canada Day celebration. But if we have total budget of $4,070, and if we buy $2,000 worth of fireworks, plus or minus, our budget is now much less than last year, which was at 36. So it goes from 36 to 2,000 if we do get fireworks. There's no requirements for fireworks. Everyone likes a good firework. There's been some safety concerns that have been brought up in terms of some misfiring. There's mosquitoes being not the best location in terms of mosquito habitat. So you can decide on the fireworks, and then that will give you the budget that you have to deal with afterwards. So I don't know if you want to discuss the fireworks first,
Yeah.
and the merits.
Let's decide on fireworks.
I jotted down, I guess, it cost us briefly last year. So if we're looking at $2,000 worth of fireworks, of course, we have $2,000 left. We didn't charge anyone anything last year. I'm just looking, we kept most of the banners, well, we have all the decorations, banners and stuff, and we have, I know we have spoons. I know we'd have to look into the stuff, but I was looking at food wise and adding the paper plates and stuff, and I came up with about $1,500 worth of food and stuff that it cost us last year, so we're still in budget. Now looking at if we partner up, I think we should partner up with Lions Club. I think last year we did get help on the side, and it worked well, but I was just looking at people really, enjoyed the fireworks. I guess we'll have to look into like the safety issues that you've mentioned, or, you know, look at this further, but I'd like to continue with the fireworks if possible, and what I came up with the numbers and stuff from last year, we're still ahead, for myself anyways.
Okay.
And I don't have a problem partnering up with someone else, like the Lions Club, to help us out.
All right.
I know they want more like a fundraising, but I honestly think it went well last year. We had extra food. We had cases of wieners and meat and stuff left over, so I think we're still ahead.
All right. Councillor Lachance, I've got a bit of an insight on what the Lions want, but I want council to first to speak. Sorry, I'm used to going like that, but sorry, councillor.
No, I like the fireworks. It just depends on the weather, like it's a hit and miss. But I mean, the kids, a lot of people don't go to Sudbury. My family comes out Canada Day, they spend the day with me, and they go to the fireworks here, even if it's just sitting in their car and watching it, you know, because of mosquitoes. But, you know, we can address the safety concerns. I really like the idea of partnering up with somebody to make, like, I'm just wondering, the fire department, do they not do a fish fry on Canada Day?
Historically, yes, last year they didn't, just because of people's family commitments, taking them out of accounts, we didn't have the staffing for it.
Are you planning?
It's the Firefighters Association that does it. I know they had a meeting after training last night to discuss, but I don't have the answer as we sit here today.
Because I know that people like the fish and chips, but they also like, you know, there's some people don't like fish, but they would eat the hot dogs or the hamburgers. It was very well organized and received last year. Like, I go every day, every year, and my family enjoys it. There's a lot of activities for the kids, and so, yeah, partnering up with somebody else if we could, fireworks if we could, see about maybe the fish fry and, another organization helping us.
Okay, Councillor Lachance.
I think it went well last year. The fireworks is one of those things, like, I know that the city of Sudbury didn't do fireworks last year. Everyone was impressed that we still did. It's not something, I know they did a drone show or whatever last year in Sudbury, and I don't think that's the way to go. People like the big bang. It's nice to see the lights in the sky, but people like the explosions. And, you know, we were all kids once, and some of us maybe still tied to that a bit more than others, but I think the fireworks is something that I'd like to see keep continuing as a tradition here. The safety concerns and the bugs, hopefully we can find something to address that. I'm of the opinion that traditionally, like, there was a fish fry for a fire department, and if it's something they wish to continue doing, I know that's a fundraising thing for them, so they can buy their swag and so on and so forth with the association. I think for myself, I'd like to see them doing that, fundraise for their extra little things, and you know, it's nice that the community does enjoy the fish fry, and some people may not like the fish and chip, but you can always get just a chip, and maybe they put something else on their menu, something simple, or. But I am thinking that if we don't want to have two different people doing the food, because we've been there in the past, and it's not something I think that benefited the celebration as a whole. Yeah, and partnering with the local club, I'm not opposed to it. Again, I just think that if the fire department as a volunteer organization wanted to fundraise as a club, if a firefighters association and someone else wanted to, one of them could do food and the other one could do other things. I just wouldn't want them coming in under the assumption that they're both doing food, or it would have to plan it and coordinate between all associated groups.
All right. Anything else? You're good? All right, just wanted to state that what's been stated by a few people is it was the option between, I know fireworks are still looked at by many people, but would have, the other option that was maybe discussed was to have a band or somebody come in and play music, which is sort of Canada Day, but maybe not as much. But everybody's basically stated that fireworks are a go, and that's the way we're gonna go.
So, just to be clear, $2,000, it's been a traditional amount, it's gonna be a smaller show, obviously. Those $2,000 was from 2 years ago, so I'm
Yeah.
assuming it's gonna be, but it still was significant. And we still have time, we still have money, we still have clubs to respond. I would encourage council, maybe, we can bring it up at the following meeting if there's but at least now, I will make sure that the fireworks get ordered. And I will hopefully contact the gentleman that did it last year, but hopefully he will take charge again and order the fireworks, and we can work from there.
Okay, but I agree with what's been said, the safety concerns have to be addressed.
Yes, definitely, and it's one of those issues that, it has to be, no matter what.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, thank you very much. Item 7.1.3, okay, these next two items are sort of related. It's the ones regarding non-union banking overtime policy, and the next one is HR support. I'd almost like to have the HR support looked at first, because it might make the other one null and void for the moment. So if you wouldn't mind, is there anybody in disagreement with going with 7.1.4 first?
No.
Okay. Could you present item 7.1.4, HR support?
Yes, Your Worship. So in light of some questions that have been coming up, I started the research again to see if I could find some affordable advice, doing a bit of research. Obviously, it's not an HR lawyer at their rate, but I did go and have a session with HR Covered, which is an online provider, unlimited support by phone, and the other one was Bright HR, based in, it's based in UK, but it's both are Canada certified, Ontario certified for ESA. You have access to staff that are certified, human resources. There's something at the end there, but at church it was their professional. So yes. So unlimited. So one of the discussion that I had with Bright HR, I sent them a sample of the policies we had, and they looked over it and says, yeah, they have to be updated. They're not up to ESA standard. And I also asked them, because we're dealing with management, I said, can anyone call? And I specifically mentioned members of council, because obviously if we're dealing with management, I would assume that the mayor would take the lead on looking on those HR policies, or mayor, whoever's assigned by council. And he said, yeah, it's not limited to one person or one staff. So they would work with us, both would, in general, both would work with us in looking at our policies. And some of them, like, they'll work on the core policies, like 2 core policies per year. Obviously, our big one is the personal policy, which is fairly humongous, which includes the language in the first one. And they would go through that and assist us in determining, yes, this is fully legal within the ESA confines. And both of them, HR Covered and HR Bright, and there are more. This is just the ones I've been trying to get, the better reviewed ones. And they also would look at all employment agreements and work with the municipality to make sure they're compliant in whether they meet ESA or the original intent of them. So, and again, I talked to both of them and says, yes, that would most likely be a member of council doing that. It's no problem, is they don't base it on the need being the lead and the main contact, it's open to the municipality, not the person. So obviously I wanted to make clear because I could negotiate something better for me than I'm sure council would negotiate for me. So just to make it fair and honest and open book. So that being said, I did discuss with the treasurer, there is an amount in this year's budget of $3,200 for logging time software. We're probably not yet set on the software we're gonna get. We saw one great presentation today that they have a similar time software. The HR Bright does have a component of that within it. So there is money in this year's budget of $3,200, if I'm not mistaken. 3,000. And because, so if you take it for 1 year, and I do have the prices there, so let me just jump. And again, this is, I have to be honest, they are salesmen, they are trying to sell me a service, so I'm trying to, because I don't want to take on something that may or may not be, also I just gotta go one below here.
19.
Yeah. Sorry, it's my. If I touch the screen, it, because I want to stick the prices and I don't want to say something wrong here. So HR Bright, a 1 year program is $4,200. We're halfway through the year, so in this year's budget would be $2,100, and then the other 21 would hit next year's budget because it would be prepaid for service. Seeing that we have 3,000, it would be within this year's budget. This one is a bit higher. I took the option, they have health and safety where they have a little mobile app that you put on your phone, you take a picture, you report back, it creates your standard for your HR, your health and safety. Because if we do this, it would be nice to try them out to see if they can bring an advantage also to health and safety. Now back to the HR portion, they are looking into creating a payroll system. Whether we would take it or not is yet to be seen. They don't, if it would have been a perfect software for HR Bright if they would have had the timesheet component. It's not on there yet. They're saying sometime this fall. I don't know what it looks like, so I have to go on what it looks like now. And if you, and both of them are like that. If you take the 5-year plan, and you pay, I think, $7,200, which brings down the yearly cost to, the monthly cost to, well, $99 or $125 with the HR component. So it brings it down to $1,500 per year, but it would be a 5-year commitment. Obviously, you pay upfront. The commitment is day one. Unfortunately, HR Covered does have a 30-day money-back guarantee. The one thing that has more over HR Bright is they have 2 15-minute sessions with a lawyer. So if you have a legal question regarding, let's say, the agreement, then you can have a legal opinion on that agreement. It's unfortunately, I would have hoped HR Bright would have had it because they have a lot more issues. So HR Covered does not have some of those, but they do have a $3,100. So it is actually cheaper, but there's a lot of components they don't have in HR Bright. Both have unlimited call, which is probably the principle we want. I'm writing a policy on no smoking. What can I force staff to do? That would be, yes, in ESA or legislation, you can do this or require this. Or they can look at, I'm trying to think of something else that would be a letter of reprimand to someone. They would give advice. Both of them have databases. HR Bright has a pretty neat, every letter you ever need to give to an employee, the templates are there. You go put in the name, and then you have the template that are current to the current ESA standards. So either option that council chooses, it won't impact this year's budget. You will just take the money that was allocated to a software that was for logging time in and time out. HR Copper does not do that, but we also saw a presentation today from PSD that does that if we take the bigger asset management component. So there's too many softwares. I'm doing right now, I'm getting to be not a fan of software, just because everyone wants a monthly fee, they want it for life, and you only do this. So hopefully this is, council considers something like this, that'll help, and I believe it will help both council and staff move forward and follow the ESA standards. And hopefully get an understanding of, what we need to do, to make this community, our policies compliant. Or not, I'm not saying they're not compliant, I'm sorry. I'm just saying, if we wanna change something, we will change it and be compliant.
Improve it, yeah.
Sorry,
So-
that was long-winded, I do apologize.
That's okay. And the reason I wanted this one first is that if we, I know the overtime is that something banking time and whatnot, seeing that some, there's a question of salaried versus non-salaried versus, I think if we do go with the option of, I think the HR Bright seems to have more capacity, more functionality, but it would give us now a resource that we could use, for staff, but also council, to inquire about those questions. Not necessarily make all the changes, based on that one response, because after we get the response, then we can go back as you, there's two 15-minute questions.
That's HR covered.
Oh, that's HR covered. HR Bright does not have those.
No access to a lawyer, but they do have access to a, HR professional. So basically, HR professional, you go to school, like any other course, you take a 1-year, 2-year course, you go understand.
And that's unlimited with those.
Yeah, the HR lawyer it's more of somebody that spent 7 years becoming a lawyer. I read the act, yeah, you're compliant, you need to work
Okay.
what you tell them to do.
All right.
Or you can cut this benefit out and it doesn't impact, any agreement you did before. Unfortunately, the 2 15-minute session, it would be probably dedicated to the agreements. And I said, well, if you're doing 2, can you do 4? Yeah, technically that would be 1 task, so.
Okay. All right. So even if we find a need and we use HR Bright, we find a need to go to a lawyer, we could still do it outside of that context, I would imagine. But it's just that it would at least give us access to professionals in HR. So, and then afterwards, once we would have the answers, then we could look at the overtime hours. How did they work? Is that something that is feasible or something that is reasonable within the context of the original contract or not? Because from what I've heard that there are loopholes and there are sections that are hard to enforce as they stand. So, what is your opinion?
I'm not sure that I agree. I would need further research. I'm not willing to start spending, I know you're saying it's 2,100, but I think the big problem is, the big issue is obviously the HR 02 policy places all the individuals' agreement when they were hired, right? I think that's the big issue right now.
That's, and it
So
would
I'm
give
not
us somebody
sure.
that we
Yeah.
could.
I know you're talking about payroll and stuff, like we just agreed to a digital payroll system. Like, I think we're like double dipping, like, I want more information. I don't think HR is going to answer our questions. I think this is a bigger issue.
So who do you believe we'd need to go to see legal advice immediately?
I think so, to be honest. It's like everyone's hiring, how can I say that? The agreement when they were hired, they're all different. We haven't been following any of the agreements, and obviously that means that we're not following the HR policy. So how do we go back on that? I think it's a bigger fish, like a bigger, like it's too big for us, yeah. I don't think HR is going to fix this.
Okay, did you
That's
have
what
something you wanted to add?
I was gonna say, the payroll is not included in neither of them, so.
Okay.
It would be an add-on, which I would not recommend at this point, because I haven't seen it, and we already have an HR payroll system in our software. So we just
Yeah,
wanted to-
I think even the wording in the agreement and stuff, like if you're looking at, banked versus, overtime, the overtime word is not properly used in the agreement. Like when you're using the word overtime, if you look, overtime is you're paid time and a half. They're getting you year of, it should not even be used as overtime, it should be bank. There's a lot of, it's a big mess, that's how I see it.
And
I don't
that's
think
in the
HR is,
policy.
yeah,
Yeah, the policy was not properly developed,
yeah.
but that's something that, in my mind, we.
The policies
could
and the
help.
agreements that everyone was hired, right? Everyone signed they all signed their agreement when they were hired, but it's not being properly followed. So I think this HR is not gonna fix it. That's my take on it.
Okay. Councilor Loftus?
Could we not take that money and just go and get legal advice on this instead of getting this program that may not help us?
But it's not a program, I think it's
No, but
a resource.
it's a resource,
yeah.
but the amount of money that they're asking, like this here 12 months, $300 a month, we could try that HR Bright. Like it's $3,600, so it would cost us,
Yeah.
Like you
but would they give us the answers we need? Like, or if we put this money out, will it give us the answers that we need now?
I agree, it would have to be a trial to see if it would work, that's why. Okay, can I ask, would there somebody here have an idea of how much legal fees are presently?
You're looking at probably about $600 an hour.
That's not true. There's firms that actually specialize in this, I've been looking into it, and they have a set fee for doing policy reviews. It's a set fee, it's not an hourly with
Okay.
the lawyer, so usually it comes to the intern that works under the lawyer that will go through and do the work, so the hourly fee is not.
So you're talking about a junior lawyer, usually working at about 200.
Yeah, so, and just saying, there are, I spoke to two firms that sorry, Councilor Loftus.
No, that's okay, go ahead.
Again, you want to review this one first, they both do kind of go hand in hand, I agree
Yeah,
with you.
yeah.
And if we're deciding to spend money, I think we should be spending our money on having a firm do a policy review. Offhand, does anyone know when the last time the policy has been reviewed by a legal professional? Probably hasn't been done, it should be done, again, in research that I've been doing, every 5 to 10 years. And, I don't think we ever had one done, and I think if maybe we're due for a reset here and to have a policy review and get it done whichever way goes, it's due to be done. And, that's my opinion, if we're gonna spend money instead of trying to throw a bottle fill at it, let's fix the road, well, let's fix the road.
Okay, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No.
So, what I'm hearing from council is that they would prefer obtaining legal advice as opposed to an HR specialist. Okay, and if somebody has, did you say you had a few names that you made
There are
research
firms,
on?
I know there's firms that are familiar to the municipality already that we use, like Weaver Siemens and stuff like that. There are larger firms that are renowned for this, farther south. So, to me, it all depends if it's something that's an item that has to be tendered when we go to this, or not. If it's direction of council to be choosing this, or staff.
Well, I'm just saying, if you have some that you've already made research, we'll make sure that they at least get included in the.
In the offer for tender, well, Weaver Simmons, Goldwing, WLG, the Kitchener Waterloo office. Those are two of the ones that I know of, one's in the north, one's in the south, they both handle it, but of the two the one farther south is renowned for HR. So, I feel like it's gotta get done either way, and I personally lose a lot of sleep over this. I'm sick and tired of not knowing, and there's always different ways of stuff to be interpreted.
Exactly.
And I think this is why, HR policy is fine, it's not HR professionals that break the law, it's lawyers that break the law, so let's have a lawyer interpret it for us, please.
In agreement?
Agreement, yeah.
In agreement? Okay, so if we do decide to go, well, the decision has been made to go with a legal advice as opposed to an HR professional, the procedure would be something, like, can you put something together for the next, meeting for the
Hire a
procedure?
list of providers and prices and just
Yeah.
the council's decision to pick and choose. I know there's HR firms also in Sudbury, that you may deal with a chair, but what an HR lawyer behind it.
Yeah, so,
Okay,
there's two different, again, there's HR lawyers that are for the employer, there's HR lawyers that are for the employee, and in my opinion, we're in the position of the best interest of the taxpayers. We should be hiring a
For the
firm that is in the
employer.
position of the employer, not in the position of the employee, is
Correct.
where I'm at, so
Yep.
that be noted.
Well, and like I say, I'm just gonna put a Google search. If the members of council want to submit names, we'll put it on the list for the pricing, and then council can pick and choose the preferred. And that might be a wiser move than, because it's a big question.
And
It is.
Rather than
two
have it.
15-minute periods, you're never gonna get the answer to this question. And it's a nice thought, and I think it's a great solution to someone that already has a good plan in place, and we don't have a good plan in place.
And the following years, if ever it becomes an issue.
And then that's something
You're
we
saying.
can revisit. We
Alright.
have a good foundation for our roads, our policies, and then we'll go from there.
all right, perfect. And I would like to, for item 713, which is basically related to it, defer that item till
Yeah, they
the
kinda
other
go-
one is resolved.
Yeah, they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah. Are we, do I have a mover and a seconder for a deferral? Yes, sir. Councilor Loftus and Councilor Lachance?
Do we have a date when we want to bring this back?
Once item 714 is resolved, then we can, like, they're gonna be handled essentially together. Once we have 714 resolved, the other one should also be at the same time.
That means the cumulative in there, well, that just means carries into the next year.
Yeah.
That was just, again, adding what was not there before.
And during the interim, we'll continue as it's been done in the past.
Okay. I'll just read it without being as emotional, just. Item 7.1.3, review of non-union banking overtime policy is hereby deferred to a meeting at a future date once the issue of seeking legal advice has been addressed and resolved.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so moved by Councilor Loftus and seconded by Councilor Lachance. Be it resolved that item 7.1.3 6.3, review of non-union banking overtime policy is hereby deferred to a meeting at a future date once the issue of seeking legal advice has been addressed and resolved.
All those in favor? Carried. Leon?
Yes.
We had put you on the back burner there, so
Yes.
we're gonna bring your item back up to the front now. All right, go ahead.
Thanks, sorry for being late. So what I want to do is, I have a little map here I can show you unless, you have it. You want?
No.
So basically we have two lots right here. Nine and 10. Yeah, 9 and 10 right there.
Where's, bring it back up.
Yeah,
Get back up.
Emily, it's,
So we brought the road up from here.
Yeah.
And we ended right here. So
Okay.
this is my phase one that I want to
Yeah.
continue building on. And then we have lot 9 and 10, which is in the,
With the cul, yeah,
Yeah,
turn
so-
around.
Exactly. So, we're working on bringing a sewer up this street here, up to as far as we can, but there's potential bedrock issues. So the reason for this meeting is, or for asking permission for field beds on this is so that we can apply for a field bed and then, get a building permit so that we can start work in a couple weeks from now, get the house built. And this summer going into fall, when it dries up, we're gonna work on bringing the sewer up to those lots. But if the sewer for some reason can't get passed, like we run into major bedrock issues and the cost of the sewer is too much, I wanna continue on those two houses, like to be able to put a field bed on and have them move forward. But the intention is to bring sewer there, I'm just doing this as a safety net for peace of mind on my behalf, to know that I can build these two houses, and if sewer doesn't work, that we can put on field bed and get families moving over there.
Okay. You said two conditions, if the sewer line could not get there,
Yes.
or if the sewer line was too expensive.
So, yeah, if it can't get there, the only reason the sewer line would stop is if we hit a wall of rock,
Okay,
and we'd have to blast out rock the size of this building. It's not financially feasible for us to do that.
all right.
It would make, yeah.
So it would be bedrock would be the condition.
Yes, bedrock would be the condition of
Okay.
us not being able to continue that sewer line.
All right. You have any questions? Just-
None for myself, thanks for
Yeah.
explaining it, yeah.
Okay, Councillor Loftus?
I'm just wondering, can I ask the building inspector something?
Yeah.
Okay, like, is this a common practice? Is this something that would be acceptable for the building department?
Well, sorry, through you, your worship, thank you. So past council did give permission for some lots already, the ones that have
Yes.
already been built, were granted permission to be off of the sewer system because of this issue that they had found, that still is an unanswered question. They found that to get to to the far corner where they're already starting to build, it was going to be too difficult to get it on sewer. Council supported the idea of letting them not hook up to the sewer system. So we have done it in the past. I can see what Mr. Yancey is trying to do. If he still has to apply for public health to get approvals for the septic. So that's always a condition
Yes.
for us to say, as long as you can get approvals, you can try the septic system. But the other lots were approved. As he's explained to me, because we have discussed this, it is more, if he can connect it to the sewer line, it is more advantageous for the developers. They would rather not pay for septic systems to go into the ground. But like he's saying, if he can get approvals for these two, he can begin houses that, and then put more time into looking to see if that connection is feasible. So, is it doable? Essentially, yes, he would, as long as he gets permission from council and you're happy with it, he would legally be able to apply for a septic, which means if he gets approval, he could legally get a building permit.
Okay, because the other two people that, like the other customers that built because, like they got septic systems because they were on rock, did they not dig and they knew the rock was there? So that's what I'm just wondering, like, have you started to construct this property? Or do you know that there's rock there for sure, or are you just gonna put the field, you wanna apply for the field bed?
There's a very high potential of rock, but more, basically I just wanna apply for the field bed so that I can get a permit and keep construction moving forward. Cause
Okay.
we won't be able to get in there with the machinery to do the sewer till probably September, October. Cause we need it to dry up.
Okay, well, I don't have an issue if the building is, like, I mean, we've done it before, so.
Councilor Lachance.
I gotta have concerns, cause the intent of it, the intent of the whole going with the septic system through the subdivision was to help ease the burden to the other residents in the municipality that live in the village that are using the septic system. I know the road that's built in there right now is quite high, and I'm assuming that's because they couldn't dig to put a proper base because there is enough rock under there.
Mhm.
That's just an assumption of mine, with a bit of construction experience. So, coming to council, for this request is, I think you probably have a good idea that there is a lot of rock there, and it might be harder to develop, but if we do it with the first two houses, and then someone wants to build two more, it was already done to the north, the east side of the development. It's hard when you have more than one developer involved. It's not just one person, you have to have all three people say, okay, we're gonna do this together, and blast how many other property owners are now in this. It's just, I just feel the more of these that get accepted, the harder it's gonna be to ever justify having the septic, the sewage go through there, and it probably never will get done, so. And I believe that was an understanding last year, when we went through, other stuff, with rural policy and such, and the council was in strong favor of, the septic system, so I just, that's a tough one for me, that's all.
Could I ask a question either from the CBO or Dennis, I'm not sure who. I understand it's the initial intent is to get the proper documentation to start the construction. Is there some stipulation that we can implement in the agreement that if it is found to be feasible, it must be done using the sewer system? Or is it once we give approval, then it's out of our hands? That's the
May
point.
I?
Yes?
Well, and Mr. Yancey could also speak to this, but if the sewer system can be brought to those properties, it's less expensive for the developer to attach to the sewer system.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, you know what I mean? Like, so if council were to give approval for septics, and then it was found that they could be connected to sewers, I believe that would be the decision of the developer to say, well, no, I'll just hook up to sewer.
How many properties do you own out of the subdivision?
I own 7 right now, and I have 3 that we're building for a customer from the village.
Okay.
Yeah.
Councilor Lachance?
I just, of the 2 properties you showed us, the neighboring properties, are those also yours, or are those, one of the other developers that own those ones?
The 2 in front
Mhm.
would be bought, so.
Yeah, just the
Yeah.
neighboring ones,
Yeah, so these 2, 9 and 10 are owned by a gentleman that owns a business in this town. That's what we're building for, and then these 2 lots would be mine.
okay. Yeah, just the neighbors, cause I think the original plan was that we were to follow here, so if we put septic there, the cost wouldn't be shared for the, well, I don't wanna say shared, but I don't know how you guys are doing that, so.
Yeah, 'cause these are approved.
the septic, yeah, off of, Fifteen that road.
Maybe
Park.
Emily,
Do you have something you wanted to add?
Through your worship, if you don't mind, I've been involved with to Mr. Yancey, especially in relation to the road. Now, I understand you're looking at building now on lots 9 and 10, which was where the turnaround is supposed to be. So is your intention now to continue the road all the way through and not give us the easement on those lots, as we had requested?
Well, you'll have easement on, because we wanna get that, like, well,
There was stipulations in the email that was sent to you about, building on those lots that you either had to do the survey and cut out
The circle?
the circle, or you were gonna give us the easement on the entire lot,
yes, so we are doing the circle, the
The
small
survey.
because
easement.
nobody's ever gotten
Yeah.
back to me about that.
Okay. Yeah. But that is the intention, we're working on that right now.
Okay, so because nothing would be allowed to continue without having,
Had the stipulation been that we got the easement over the entire lot, the stipulation was that there was no construction, no storage, nothing could be done on those lots while the turnaround was there.
all right. So that, we can't put that as a stipulation for sure? Or-
If he does the survey and actually carves out the pieces and gives us the pieces, then that's fine. But
So we
there
should
was
wait
discussion about the survey was going to cost too much. So it was easier to just ease us the entire lot.
Yeah, I had heard that also.
and that becomes the end of the road where the turnaround is, and development farther down, there would be any further sewage to continue on to, so.
And if that is the case and that survey is happening and the turnaround is happening, that will also have to happen before a building permit is issued.
Yes, so. How do I word this?
Anyway you want.
I don't do a lot of these meetings. So the road, my company negotiated the deal for the road. There's a certain other person that walks into this building and says other things as giving the lot over because the survey is too expensive. I never said that for the record. My intention was always to cut the surveys out. So for that part, yeah, that's the way we're going to do, because if we do the whole lot, I agree, we can't build on it.
But I believe that was why we sent the emails to you, because you told that other person that the agreement was with you, so we wanted that from you.
Yes.
Okay. So, step one would be to send the response, get the surveys underway, and once the surveys would be underway, then we could look at the agreement once again, because if there's no survey.
Yeah.
Is there a specific order in which these items need to happen? Survey first, then agreement, then, or can we then give a conditional agreement first? Wait for survey?
Which side, remember there was discussion of lift station for the septic? Is that farther down?
No, that was at the corner of Emily Street and King,
Yeah.
Bedard, King,
Mm-hmm.
right where the houses are being built now.
To bring it over the,
But the concern wasn't for the other side. Like, would
Well,
they still
no, it's
require
in-
lift station?
Yeah, the other side wasn't a concern, but it hasn't been
'Cause was-
determined how far it will go yet.
Was the route to continue and take Emily Street to connect to the sewage, or was it supposed to go across the fields by the arena? To, like, the other house was like, where was the connection point supposed to be? Do you remember that? Cause that's kind of,
It extends from Casimir.
so the Casimir
Yes.
connection straight across on Emily Street.
Onto,
That's not.
not Emily, it's
Ah.
called, Greenwood.
The one that's not there yet?
Yes.
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah, so Emily being this side too low, having to pump over.
So being
we
that
were
side,
the other
bit better chance that way, at least, but, okay.
Mhm.
Because I know that road's not developed or nothing, so like, was there intent to develop Greenwood Drive? Because really, that's where the septic has to pass, that would, we'd have to do our tie-in, so you have to pass there, correct?
Yes, so we would bring up the septic up Greenwood
Mm-hmm.
and then bring it down, Parkview to that turnaround. So that turnaround is about where you're falling off, like that
Yeah.
end would go this way
Yeah.
and the other end goes the other way.
Mhm.
Where you're gonna have a sewer that's 2 feet underground, and I don't think you're gonna want that.
Because even
Because of
they
fall.
offer, like, that road is already quite high. They even, you'd have to backfill your septic, so it would make the homes quite high as well, so just, it's got to fill, if you can dig anyways, okay. Thanks for that perspective, it's coming from the other way,
You
so.
can answer. Yes.
So, your worship had asked about the sequence. I don't think it really matters, cause if you grant him the approval to get septics, that's fine. The CBO's final approval and occupancy only comes when the municipality takes over the road. We won't take over the road until we get the easement, so,
Right.
there's no,
So that's okay.
But my only concern also, again, as it's been stated, is if it is feasible to have the sewer line as opposed to a septic bed, once we give approval, it's out of our hands. And that is the, yes,
And in the end, we would have potentially 2 other homes on septics, which, you know, there's also, there's the idea of allowing the development, or is it better to wait on the development to see if that can help with septic? It's a, I don't know, I see
Yeah,
what
I know.
everyone's saying, but like we talked about, the road's already high because we know there's rock there.
Yeah, and that's.
So there's rock there.
there's rock there, you're right.
You know, I just putting it out there,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, so there's probably, as has been stated, there's probably rock there, which is probably gonna stop the laying of the sewer line, which is, probably means that we are looking at septic beds. And we would have 2 new houses.
Potentially. Well, yes.
That's it.
That's
Four?
the intent.
42 per section, well, whatever now.
Yeah,
He's got 4 properties right
yeah.
But at this time, you're only asking for lot sign intent.
Yeah, my intention is just to get, so that we can start on that, and, I prefer not to use septic, but I wanna be clear on that, I don't want septic, I want sewer, because if a sewer can get laid without blasting bedrock and stuff, it's way more feasible for us, or it's a better investment. So yeah, all I want is just those 2, so that I'm protected, so that we can start building those 2 houses, so that we can get them closed in and done by the end of the year.
All right.
now. Is the first, you'll probably have your septic will be installed at the same time that you're digging for your foundation, or just after, or?
No.
You're after putting in,
Yeah, we'll build the whole house and do the septic at the very end.
they're just gonna have your waste pipe sticking out and wait until.
Which
Okay.
is fine, sorry,
Yeah.
which is fine with me, as long as I have an approval, then
Yeah.
I'm fine.
There's lots of contingency, lots of things to think about. Maybe it could be, if it would be possible to have something written up together with a resolution prepared that we could look at the next meeting, or when it would be ready. Is that reasonable to ask?
So that it's clear for everyone, I think
Okay.
that makes sense. Mhm.
And that way, we'll have things more in a row, and then we can move ahead on that. Okay?
Mhm.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
All right, we return to item 7.2, which is Sawmill Bay Park. 721. page 21.
Yes, this is mostly for an update and potentially clear up and potentially a grant. So I took the opportunity just to bring council up to speed. Within, probably next week, we hired a environmental ecosystem, which was actually a cheaper rate than Bitchin. So she's also a local resident, business owner that lives on Lake Road. She has done major projects, the wharf in Killarney being one of her latest projects from last year. So she comes well recommended, and it also was at a $800 savings. Our target is to have all permits in hand by July 15th, and she believes that it's a good fit for the community in general location, understanding we're building between two wetlands. So, okay, what was I, Councilor Chip? Okay, so just bringing up the information, so NHFC has a grant that to improve the community. So again, it does not just generally have to be here. They could, as long as it improves the life in the community, and I passed parks, these types of parks to her in the, it was mentioned that it would qualify for the grant, and so other grants, but seeing that we're working on this one, I'm bringing it up concerning this one. We can also look at other possibilities. They are usually 90%.
Yeah, it was 90%.
90% funded. Right now, I'm not trying for the playground because I'm hoping to get 100% funded for the playground. If that fails, that's also a possibility that we'll follow up with playgrounds. It was less of a fit for playgrounds, but might as well try. So this being said, I'm putting we're doing the environmental assessment, and we're all ready to expand ever so slightly the parking lot, put the ramp in. We have a limited budget to do that. That's the current intent. It's in the Director of Operations. They put it in their schedule, so it's all hopefully going to be completed within the month of July. Big aspirations. If we want to do something more with that park, this would be the opportunity to maybe talk with the environmentalists and see what's potentially suitable for that lot, and maybe do some clearance so we can apply for funding. This would be 2026 funding. Again, nothing says we have to do anything this year. This could be yes, we know, we'll apply maybe in 2026 for it. I'm just bringing it up to council because it was asked in the past, is there any other funding? And yes, there is. Unfortunately, one of the conditions to apply for the grant is you have to have all permits pre-application. So I need specifically the MSCP, land use permit, Department of Oceans and Fisheries, which we have, those two. We're working on the last one. So it's for council's discussion, and again, if there's nothing else, council is up to date on what we're progressing with the Sawmill Bay Park. And again, I've emphasized the target of July 15th. And as it pertains to Nepawasi, if council could either confirm or either for continuing or stopping the Nepawasi, because it was done by resolution and it was not stopped by resolution, and it's been sitting at M&R office, and I got a call last week and they're ready to start the LUP. You know, I've forgotten whether we cancel or not. So if we're still gonna go, they are ready to move forward. They're telling me that if we move forward, yeah, they will classify, and I'm gonna say category 3. I do not know what it means, except that they're gonna ask us, the one point he said, everyone's gonna get a notification within a certain area, probably notification of what the intent, and they're gonna move for that. So if council can discuss if we are continuing or just going a slow roll on Nepawasi, or we're gonna stop it, because I don't want the M&R to do all this work and then stop them again. So I think I can tell them, yeah, we just have enough of one, or we really want both, and then we can move from there. And again, if you want both, the condition is we would have to put maybe a bit more money into environmental on Nepawase, so we can get our MECP, so we can apply for the grant for next year, if council wants. Although, because the lot itself is an open field, and you can back in your canoe and vote right now if you wanted to, it's front land. But, again, there's potential, and I'm just waiting for council to tell me left or right.
Okay. The one at Sawmill Bay Park. You say we have an opportunity to request more grant money, but you're not sure, you wanna talk to somebody about what can be done there before we request the grant funds?
So if we apply for a grant, let's say we want to do a walking trail to a lookout. And again, whatever concept I did, this is me, I'm looking for council's direction. You wanna get a community working group to go look at it. If you want a Friends of the Sawmill Bay Park group to really dive in what is needed by the community. I got ideas, but it's an I, it should be a we. Anyways, if we do move forward, we need environmental, so we would know what we want. We would ask to maybe extend the scope of the current environmental, or do a second one afterwards to say if we do a lookout, then they would have to go to the lookout, make sure we're not trampling or doing anything that is not, we're not cutting mature trees that will de-roost bats. That was one of the concerns that was brought forward. If there are mature dead trees on the property, you have to work around with dead trees. You can't cut dead trees because I'm finding out it is roosting habitat for bats. So, again, it's basically, I'm just looking for the roadmap.
Okay,
And so we could put some to rest, or it could be a beginning for something bigger.
all right. So we'll tackle this, well, we'll tackle it both. We've got the one question about Nepawase, whether it's a stop and or not, and then the other one is Sawmill Bay. Go for it.
So in the meeting December 11, 2024, it was brought up to us, and we all agreed that Nepawase was being held back so we can concentrate on one area. I think it should stay that way. We need to concentrate on one and have a plan, a proper plan for it before we fall into.
So, but Nepawase, now we have to essentially by resolution, bring it to a close, is that what
I
we're?
could say we delay, but I don't know if I can ask you a simple, keep it on your desk, just put it underneath the next bit. And either or,
Yeah.
I can ask, but if the intent is to delay, that
Will there be any detrimental effect if we say, okay, we're just by resolution closing this, and maybe we're gonna revisit it again in a year or so, or?
The request was made on January or February 2024. It took a year and a few months to get to, yeah, we're looking at it now, and unfortunately we had a turnover at M&R. The Christine, well, I shouldn't say her name, but anyways, the lady I was working with, is no longer there. It was taken back by the original person that did it, that did the one for the West Arm, and, they're not moving fast, so if you stop it now, you add a year and a half, which,
Okay.
hey, it's
All right.
taking 2
But
years to
you-
get here.
But you say maybe you're gonna ask them to just bring it down.
If I can ask him, I can definitely say, can you put it on the slow burner and, take your time,
Okay.
get into a.
All right, so that's the option you prefer, just to put it on the slow burner sort of a thing?
Yeah, we need to concentrate on one.
Okay.
We started with the Sawmill Bay Park in December, talking about it, and we need to concentrate on that one.
Okay. Councilor Loftus.
I've been down Sawmill Bay Park, and like personally, that park is not for a lot of people. The ramp is very steep, you know, to me, honestly, I have a truck and I have a small boat. I don't believe I would ever go down that ramp. It's very dangerous.
Just to make it publicly known, that ramp is not a ramp, it's not made to land boats. I would not recommend anyone going down. The intent with the money is to make a properly ramp with a proper slope We have generic designs because that slope is too steep.
As it stands.
As it stands, it is not a ramp.
Yeah, so that's what I mean, like, I think this is probably Sawville, I think this park is basically people driving in, grabbing your picnic, you know, having your little nature walk, whatever. I don't think this has an intent for anything but like maybe you can walk a little canoe down, but
As it stands.
as it stands. So we could leave it like that and see what the public feel about it. But personally, I would like to see Nipawasi started because it's not an aggressive hill, it's very open. And I would like to see M&R, maybe, like you said, send letters out and see what people feel about, like, have a town hall, see what people feel, because the people that I've spoken to, they would like access to that Nipawasi Lake, because it's an actual lake, it's not a little creek, you know, it's not in a little area. So, to me, we'll leave like Sawmill Bay Park the way it is and see what happens. But if you can apply for a grant to continue to try to open up the water for accessibility to other people, I would be in agreement with that also,
At Summit Bay Park.
at Nipawasi.
On the west. Okay.
Because he's saying 2026, if he applies for, he talks to M&R and then you have to apply for a grant, you wouldn't be getting any money until 2026. So this is, you know, if you put it out there now, at least we have the 8 months or 9 months before, if we're gonna proceed with Nipawasi, we would have grants applied for and we'd have the M&R on board. Cause we put them on the back burner before and I don't think this is something that should be closed. I think if we should open it, so.
Just the intent, however, is this, June, whatever the date that we can actually work on it.
July 15th.
July 15th. What was the intent to work on July 15th?
So the Public Works will have the range of $16,000 plus a bit of supply of gravel. The intent is to grow the parking lots so that we can actually park a truck or car with a trailer. So instead of being 10, 20 feet deep, it might be 30 feet deep, or, because I don't think anyone is gonna be in a 30-foot boat from there, will not. The ramp is going to be built to a suitable standard where it's going to be safe and sound for people to back up a truck and not be able to make it back up the hill. Because right now, there is the better chance of you going in the lake, yes, up the lake.
Yeah.
And we have 2 picnic tables, so that are sitting, we put it out in the park last year, because since we have the tables, so they were at the splash pad. And they would be set on a gravel pad where it would be a picnic area, so there would be 2 tables for a picnic area, there would be a bear-proof garbage can. The fire chief gracefully built us an outhouse that will be on site. So basically we bought the material, he supplied the labor at no cost, so thank you, Fire Chief, or should I say Mr. Victoria. And that's gonna be it, that's enough for, like Councilor Loftus said, you go there, go have a little picnic, and you should have a standard size for the money we have, and there'll be nothing else. Because the gravel and time will be all spent in that, making sure that that launch is safe and sound. And a bit of the expansion of the parking lot, but our Public Works will make short time of that.
Okay. All right, so that would be sufficient for you at Sawmill Bay Park, and you'd like to see the grant money if received.
To start investigating like Nipawasi and proceed what we have to do in order to open that area. Like, that would be a better area for kids to go for a swim, or, you know, have a boat. Like, Sawmill is, you can bring a kayak there, you know, like a little kayak, a little canoe sort of thing. That's what that park is.
Is
Like
there
when I
a
drove-
parking spot, like
Not
a
yet.
parking lot?
Joe, there's some
Nipawasi?
small, oh, Nipawasi?
Yeah,
it's
I've been there
It's all
and I
crown, it's all crown land.
It's,
It
we
has to
can
be
open it.
Open.
Because right now, it comes to the road comes to a dead end,
Mhm.
and then it's crossed.
Yeah, it's all Crown. If Crown gave it to us, I
There's
mean, why not
already,
take
an
advantage?
access there.
But if the M&R is giving it to the municipality for use, why not use it?
So you're looking more at a beach area?
Well, beach, launch, like, I mean, you can open it up, it's flat.
We're not allowed, I don't think, to add any,
No, no
Sand
sand,
or
no, but I
anything, no.
mean, it's flat, you know what I mean?
yeah.
It's, I find it's cleaner water. But that's just me.
Okay. Yourself, Councillor Deschamps?
Yeah, I really wanna see, again, so like reiterated from December, Sawmill Bay Park at least completed. I don't think we should take our foot off the gas, so with Nipawasi, I think that we need to show them that we're still interested before, again, not about just getting put at the bottom of the file for a year, but, when they say that, like, these guys weren't serious last time, so it goes back to the bottom again. I don't know if there's other opportunities there too, cause there's a lot of Crown land there, so maybe we can ask for a bit more, and again, if you wanted to have one part as, we already discussed before what we wanna do there, but I think there's opportunity for more growth there too possibly, and, other avenues later on, so I think that we show interest, and at least if we get the environment, with that grant money could go towards environmental studies, not construction this year, we don't have time for that, and, usually with the grants, it has to be spent within the 12 months of receiving for this one, I think, so we give time for the studies and such.
So the EFO is a simple application, I filled it over there, got it. LUP, I'm pretty sure I can complete. Because of the environment, because of the specialty, we do have to hire, but we do have, like I said, hopefully a good working relationship. That one unfortunately would have to be completed prior to applying for our grant. And so it wouldn't be eligible for the grant. So that's the unfortunate part.
We have to pay for the study before.
If it's anywhere the same price, it's around $3,800.
To me, that doesn't seem like a far cry, but, I don't know, that just personally, I think it'll be used. I think a lot of people in the area were excited about it when, it was brought up a few years ago in the first place, and I know some people aren't too happy about it, but I think, the happy outweigh the unhappy. So as long as we can get the proper documentation, it's been implemented in the strategic plan at this point. We just need to make sure that the environmental studies are done and that we're dotting our i's and crossing our t's, as they say. I think we keep trying to.
Move it on the board. Okay. Do you have anything to add to it, or?
No, we need a concrete plan, right?
Yeah.
You can't just come up and say, oh, we're moving forward with nothing on hand, like, we need concrete.
Well, right now, we've been stalled a little bit because of the.
We've had experience now.
Because of an environmental study.
Yes, yeah.
But that's coming to a close. And that, the question basically is, do we wanna just bring it to the vision that was initially set up, where we have parking for maybe one or two boats and vehicle at, Sawmill Bay? How many?
I'm hoping, there's room for 10. The current location, there's just
Okay.
a bit of brush, there's no big trees, and there's hopefully no dead trees, because I was always thinking the opposite, dead trees, we have no issues, but we have issues with dead trees. So it's all underbrush, but, it's going through an environmental review, and since we're doing it, I'll get her to give me a quote for Nipawasi, so when it comes to that stage, there won't be this delay of getting a person who will have a price, and she's already shown to be, more than competitive, and actually, she, it's sometimes pension subs for that company out.
Okay.
So she works for EXP also, so.
Good to know going forward for the landfill and stuff too, I guess.
Yes, that's her forte, that company.
Yeah. Okay. So, move ahead with what was the original plan at Sawmill Bay Park, and keep moving the paperwork ahead for Nipawasi.
Okay. Thank you.
right, next item. Item 731, report to council, Sabreeze Planning Board. Apportionment. Pamela.
Okay, so every year, the Sudbury East Planning Board presents their prior year's financial statements and their current year's budget, and for council for approval for their apportionment. So it is increased from $23 per household to $24 per household. Also, our household count has increased this year. So the total cost for 2025 would be $24,312 compared to the $23,184. We had budgeted $25,000, so we were within budget. Reviewing the financial statements in the 2025 budget, there were a few questions that the treasurer had regarding payroll expenses and provincial contribution. They contribute to offset the cost for unorganized. And that contribution hasn't increased in a while, so the Sudbury Planning Board is going to write a letter to see if they can get that increased since the municipalities' costs have been increasing year over year. And the payroll expenses, they did provide explanations that were satisfied, that I was satisfied that they weren't material amounts. Just they kind of overestimated on some, but it kind of their benefits package comes due in October. Usually there's an increase and I don't know what the increase is, so they use any overages in the above to cover any extras in the below. So it kind of works out in the same way. So no major issues. So I'm recommending that council approve the apportionment for Sudbury East Planning Board.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions?
Not for myself, I'm in agreement.
Council Loftus?
No, I'm in agreement.
Lishams?
Just like to thank you for your attention to detail, and when I actually asked some questions, I know I wasn't physically at the meeting, but I did still see the correspondence going back and forth beforehand. And also to Mayor Buckley for looking out for the best interest of taxpayers here and paying those fees back. And just to note that although the province does have a portion that they do share for the unorganized, every year when that amount is actually received, there's like a little cheer because like, oh, we didn't know if they were gonna keep giving it, because it's so, it's not like, okay, January 1st every year, it just comes in when it comes in, and oh yeah, it's not very professional, I guess you could say, or timely.
I think the problem is their year is till March, so.
But when they still don't know when that apportionment comes in, when the province comes in, it's like, oh, we got it, we didn't know if it was coming in, like it was getting close, and so.
All right. Okay, so everything, we don't have the resolution today, do we? No. Okay. Next item, thank you very much. Next item, 741, results backyard hen survey. Oh yeah, this one we had set back because it was
Deferred?
Yeah. Deferred or referred? I think it was
Right now.
referred.
Sorry, just let me open up my report.
Andrea.
Yes, sorry, I want to just be able to see everybody. So this was reported on last meeting, but we were missing 2 counselors, so council decided that since this was a fairly important decision, they wanted to make sure that all council had a chance to look over the results. I won't go too much into detail. Generally, people were in favor. We did get results from both rural and urban respondents. It did seem like people who were in the urban areas were very supportive of having backyard hens. Everyone seemed to be in general consensus to allow them as long as people took care of their yards, took care of their chickens from an animal welfare perspective, from a keeping things clean perspective. The only places where there was a little less support were when we asked questions about houses being closer together. Generally, they were a little less supportive of having hens where places were closer together. But to me, that really indicates we have to make sure that there's provisions for setbacks, for enforcement if smell becomes an issue. We do have to be aware that hens create noise. And we know of the noise bylaw issues that we have had and how it can be interesting to enforce noise. I think though generally the public is in support of the idea, but we would have to have a good plan in place so that if there were problems, those problems could be enforced. With that in mind, because we have the public support, staff is recommending that we move forward with creating a draft bylaw for council and residents to review and to provide feedback to continue on with this process.
Thank you very much. Any questions, Councilor Framboise?
Just in the recommendation one, to restrict hens in multi-unit dwelling unless agreement can be made between residents sharing the property. I can still see this being an issue.
Yes, possibly. And this is why we go through, sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor, this is why we go through the draft, and this is why we make recommendations. We now have public opinion, now council can kind of take that into account with anything that we put forward with a draft.
Like at what point can you enforce this, right? Like, I don't know. That's the only one that I'm like questioning.
Fair.
I don't know, if that's gonna be hard to enforce, I find. For myself, anyways, looking at it,
What?
so.
Yes.
To your worship, or easy to say it's not allowed,
Yeah,
right? And like, if we feel like it will be something that we can't enforce because of reasons that we, you know, that if it becomes too difficult, then that could be a part of whatever we decide in the bylaw.
okay, yeah, okay,
But I'll make note that that's a concern.
Anything else?
everything else is fine.
Councilor Loftus?
No, I have no comments.
Councilor Deschamps?
I think like a lot of people are worried about the hens running at large, as the dogs do, from some of the comments I've seen. For myself, I don't know if, I understand free range is something that people like doing, but could we put in the bylaw something about free range has to be fenced in backyard kind of thing? Cause I know for a free range chicken, and maybe I'll speak to Chief Bertoya for this, but I think he has a little bit of experience with chickens and hens. I think the square footage for a chicken to be considered free range is like 10 square feet or something silly like that.
It's, yeah,
It's
if you
very
consider-
minimal.
So through your worship, yeah, if you consider like a free range or a organic eggs, if you will, it all kind of ties together. The space requirement is quite large. But, you know, I think that what the CBO has put together makes a lot of sense and you know, it's her thing, but I mean.
I just asked you
I
because
think
we know you have great eggs, and I mean, you know,
From your
you've been
rural
there, so just, yeah, overall, everyone, well, not everyone, a lot of people that seem to be in support of it. How many of the people that answer the survey are actually from the village area is where my area of concern is most, is the village area, because the residential lots on the highway leading down or on the back roads, even if they're not big enough to be rural, I don't think people really notice as much.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I just didn't know if there would be some kind of one for, you know, kind of say that it can't really be free range in the village area. I guess what I'm getting at, it has to be in a coop or in a fenced yard, because we all know chickens can't really fly that far, so.
To you, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Definitely, this, in the end of the day, is your law. And if we can take as long as we want through review and asking more questions and, you know, it's, I know that there is public support for the idea, but council has to weigh everybody's opinion when they make the decision. So at this point, we're really just asking, would you like to see a draft?
Yeah.
I think so, for myself,
Yeah.
To continue the discussion.
All right, so proceed with the next step, which is the draft. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item, 7.4.2, report to council, fire conference review, prepared by Denis.
Yes, from attending the conference with both Councilor Deschamps and Mayor Blanc-Penier, there were some points of interest that I just bring up to council for review, consideration, and future discussion with the fire chief, because obviously the council's main source of information, direction is the fire chief. So it's just to open and expand that discussion with the fire chief in terms of points of discussion. At the one of the presentation at the session, they really explained the dangers firefighters face, and it's, you think it's the fire going into a burning building, but it's the smoke, the skin absorption, the carcinogen, and now that it's presumed, what's the term you use there?
Presumptive legislation.
Presumptive legislation, so she come down with a specific type of cancer, and if you serve long enough in the fire department, it will be assumed, presumed, not assumed, presumed to be caused by the,
Because of
contact with the carcinogens. So that was one, they said that we should review the services we do, make sure that we take everything in consideration, that in part of taking decisions, because we're not to take it lightly of this specific issue, and if you do, that you provide the proper equipment, services, to make them safe as possible. Again, all through the recommendation to the fire chief, as he is the expert. When making decisions, again, risk assessment was the, whenever council makes a decision, in either including or removing services, it should be done with a risk assessment, a refresh risk assessment. And use the information found within, again, discussion with the fire chief. He is working on the 5-year review of the risk assessment, so you, council will have the risk assessment. But again, this is just to put to council that when you look at it, it is council's decision and its sole decision. It's not anyone else. It's not, it is in your hands to decide what to do. The onus is on council to weigh the consequences, the risks, and the cost, because it's no different than buying insurance. You want to have, let's say, AutoX, that's an easy one, and then they have to train for it, and there's a cost to it. So it's an easy, what's the risk of not having AutoX? It's a delayed response from neighboring township with rescue equipment. It could be lives in jeopardy. But that's how the risk assessment, how many incidents have occurred, and I don't want to go too deep because that is not my role. My role is just to impart counsel, to take the knowledge imparted to you in data and make your decisions that way. So again, being that the fire chief is already working on his revised risk assessment, there's probably not much council will be dealing with a risk assessment in the near future. Okay, and again, making sure that we have the required staff to provide the services, the training levels, and the fire chief has been doing a fair job, but I shouldn't say fair job, but sorry, I apologize for that. He's been doing a good job of providing training and advancing firefighters, but making sure, again, the risk assessment, to have that information to council, to make sure that we have enough people trained to deliver services. And again, it comes back to carcinogens. Again, the fire conference, they did for scheduled. So again, the question was posed by the fire chief, the impacts to WSID, because obviously if somebody passes, unfortunately, if they pass away, the average cost of a fatal result is like $500,000. We are Schedule 1, so we wouldn't see that impact. It would be a proportionate, and unfortunately, like PTSD has risen the WSIB rates. The rates are on the move right now because it's becoming to light that carcinogens the presumptive cancers that these men and women have been exposed to is affecting their long-term health, and it's causing the rates to rise. And again, I think the recommendation was, if we make a decision, if you are, say, going into a structure, make sure that they're properly funded, they have the right equipment, and I know great strides have been, like with the washer and dryer. I remember being on the fire department for 6 years, and I had one new balaclava in that 6 years. It's not happening anymore. It's like, I'm sure the fire chief knows that happened, but it's the cost to those things, and making sure they're washed frequently and they're rotated. So, and again, I'm leaning it to both Mayor Buckley and Councilor Lachelle. If they want to add anything more, again, it's working with the fire chief to make sure that everyone is healthy and safe. And the services provided are what's needed for the community, and that's the risk assessment that, again, the fire chief is working on right now, so I'm sure that that will be a topic of future discussion.
Did you have anything you wanted to add, Councilor Lachance?
I know, I already made my presentation to council when we came back. I think no point in echoing it again.
Okay. Any questions?
No, not for myself. I did read all the emails and stuff, and this is pretty on point, so.
Okay. Councilor?
Yeah, no questions.
All right. So we're waiting for the next step, which will be the risk assessment, and we'll be able to start analyzing it more in depth at that time. Okay, thank you. Next item, 751, report to council food bank funding.
Yes, so we have very active volunteers in the food bank, and they managed to secure some, there's two portions to this. They managed to secure some additional food supplies to be delivered to the region serving Sudbury East. Unfortunately, if you are receiving perishable foods, you need a facility to store the foods. The DSAB is an agreement to supply funding for right now, I think the goal is a refrigerated sea can, where we would see food shipments from probably the Toronto area, and it would be stored and delivered and shared amongst Sudbury East municipalities. Again, this is hopefully will prevent or reduce poverty, increase food security for Sudbury East. Obviously, this council should concentrate on the St. Charles residents. So the C-can is, I think the square footage is at the arena parking lot somewhere around the building. I don't think won't take away from anything from our property. The electrical supply to it, depending, again, my limitation on electrical was Google, so it was between $12 and $20 a day when it's operating. So hopefully they would receive and it would be distributed within a week. And as of right now, that cost, the intent would try to share it. Well, we'd have to share it somehow, because we shouldn't be bearing the cost of running the C-can for the food going to French River. It's for good cause. It's like, we have to understand this is our residents that are struggling right now would have a layer of security. So the idea would be to install the C-can and come to a funding agreement for like offsetting the electrical costs. We don't know what it is, because if we receive a transport and it's distributed within 3 days, is it $60 a month? Or if we have to hold on to for food for 30 days, 30 days becomes 365, then that electrical cost would increase. Is it $12? Is it $20? Google is Google. I'm just three-phase unit. So that being said, the food bank is looking to expand to include this C-can. They also secured an additional $4,000 of funding for the food bank, and an additional $4,000 for subsidizing the meals to the low income in our area. They have been providing meals. So basically, the current model is they provide the meal at 50% rate. So if it's $12, they provide the meal at $6 to make it affordable. So everybody that is there's means test, and if you qualify for the means test, then you are allowed to receive a meal. A lot of them is some of them is their only one meal. They do, and again, some of them it's just loneliness, so if they get a visit, there's a bit of a chat. So, I don't know if council, the two $4,000 ones, I think they're pretty much a standard from last year. The reefer is a new service, with the intent of striking up partnership with the other food banks, and maybe making a condition if they receive food, they have to pay the 1/3 cost, and that would only be fair.
I'd like to add a little bit, because I was partially involved in this one. The intention for the refrigerated unit is, I know everybody remembers when the big trucks would arrive and whatnot. It's we would not be receiving full trucks per se. It would be partial loads that we would receive. After having received them, they would be, instead of having that 1-day panic where everything's out in the sun, being exposed and heating and thawing out, they would be able to be refrigerated. And as soon as we would know, sometimes we would, the food bank would be aware the day before or a couple of days before, and organization could start at that point to have the other municipalities come in on that day. They could have had, they have to set up their own schedule or own method of dispersal of the food items, because obviously they can't store it at their location either if they don't have a refrigerator. The intent is really that once food would come in, it would be just a time for dispersal, and then it would turn it off. If for whatever reason, after 2-3 days, items were not taken out, they would be a similar sort of a dispersal along anybody showing up, we're emptying it today. So anybody would show up after 3-4 days, you can pick up, I don't know, 2 tubs of ice cream. Anybody want, they could come in. So the intent, however, is to maximize the fact that it would go to people in need, as opposed to, and put the limit on just in certain situations, certain loads.
So it's for every municipality?
This is going to be shared with Mark State Food Bank, Warren Food Bank, French River Food Bank, and Killarney. They've been invited, however, they haven't participated yet. We have received a load already. It was not refrigerated items, it was shelf-stable items, and it was a first test load. Everything was gone within 3 hours. So,
Each food bank got it.
yeah, everybody showed up, picked up their loads and left. So at the end, everything that was left over went into the food bank that we already have. So, and the food bank does have just standard fridges and freezers. So for their portion, they could, after the volume is to that level, they could fill up their fridges and freezers and distribute to the clients as soon as possible. That's the objective. It's not to have this thing on for the full month, just so that everybody's aware.
Do we have an area in mind for the?
I have not been involved in that section.
It's in and around the electrical supply of the arena. It would have to be, for snow removal, it would have to be coordinated with the director of operations. We do have a cistern in the back where it would be perfect, but unfortunately there's a cistern, so it would have to be most likely in that general area. It will impact parking slightly, as some parking lots will be backed up, the width of the C-can is about 8 feet, so, the concrete barriers, I don't know. Anyways, it's a discussion, but somewhere towards the back to limit the cost of, it's an outlet. I don't know if you've seen them, they're just an extension cord with an outlet. And then I think there's a warning buzzer that's unplugged too, so, because obviously we have to wire it so it doesn't get unplugged, so. Because obviously people may walk around and they say, what's this plug?
Yeah, I don't
It's
know,
copper.
that portion, all I know is that they are not to our standards, they are to, European standards, and there's a transformer, there's a box between the arena and the, yeah, because they work on 470.
Yeah, 3-phase 470 instead of 3-phase 600.
Yeah, you know what it's at.
That's what I was gonna say, it has to be at the arena, I think, is our only municipal facility that has a 600 volt hookup, unless the garage does too. Cause you guys have 120/240 at the fire hall, here it is, I know Woody's cabinet's a 600, but that's,
So we've learned, we wired the generator across for the pharmacy. The old restaurant was wired with 3-phase also. But there's no room in this parking lot unless we put it on the vacant lot, but I don't think we want to keep it in the middle of town, right?
It would be nice also to have within the same vicinity as the current food bank.
Are all the municipalities aware that they have to pay their share?
That portion, this just became, like, we were questioning, making sort of proposals, but right now, no, they haven't been made aware of the fees, or, because we're not even sure what the fees are gonna be.
So there's a slight risk to start off, and if we're not willing to host, or if it does become burdensome, I could just assume that another municipality would step in. So worst case scenario, we may not want it to go there, but I do know that there's probably appetite in neighboring municipalities to host this also.
Are we looking at just the electrical part of it, or like the preparation too?
The wiring,
No, for like the fee to share the cost
Cost of what?
of getting the site ready and stuff.
Oh, the site
And the
prep.
electrical, I know we're talking more about the electrical and stuff, like, how much it's gonna cost monthly to, share, but I'm just wondering if,
well, you'll need to install a disconnect on the side for the 600 volts, for feed the transformer. There may be, because it's a transformer in a public place, I believe you're gonna have to have guarding around it, or have it self-enclosed.
it's gonna
Self-contained
be,
unit.
just to get it prepared and stuff, it is, I know you're saying it's gonna be, pretty much like public work, but it's still money that we're dishing out, right? So if we're gonna make use of it for every municipality, I think everything should be
Sure.
shared.
Yeah, something could be sent out for sure.
maybe we can get Mark C. Warren and French River a letter, so the proposal and the shared costs,
Yeah.
because it's only fair. And I do believe that, I know Mark C. Warren has been an advocate for food banks, and so has French River, and if the first, if they were satisfied with the first load, I'm sure a continual supply of food would make it worth their while to offset their proportion of the cost, plus administration.
Yeah, that's the only thing that I wanted to clarify, the rest I'm pretty much in agreement with.
Okay. Councilor Watson?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with it also, and, like Councilor Bromboy said, if we can have the 3 communities share in the cost, that would be good.
Okay. Councilor Lachance?
Yeah, I think seeing that utilities and preparation for the base for where we're locating the C-can, that could be shared. I understand it's gonna be in our municipality, but it is the central for the 3 that are participating, so it only makes sense for, much closer for the other neighboring municipalities to participate as well, so. Yeah, I think it's
food will be coming in from the same organization, which was Second Harvest. Therefore, could we prepare, okay, we have, is it all as one resolution?
There's three.
There's three? Can we maybe,
Can I add just one thing?
Yes.
This is spending out their budget from 2024. I would recommend accepting it, and then at a later date, we can always give it back if everything falls apart. Because it would belong to DSOD.
okay,
But because it is funding, they are expecting the signed agreement tomorrow. And unfortunately, we can accept the money, but we can drive our feet by it, or spending the money, and we can get our answers from neighboring municipalities for 2
Okay.
weeks from now.
all right. That sounds reasonable. So, in other words, we would accept all three. And then-
We understand will of council being that we have to come back, otherwise, the mayor will have to answer by their next. Okay.
Okay.
We understand that there's a requirement for
Sure.
a fair
Yeah.
deal.
Exactly. All right, therefore, can I have a mover and seconder for the first resolution, for the $4,000 for the food bank? Councilor Loftus and Councilor Framboise?
Moved by Councilor Loftus and seconded by Councilor LaFramboise, be it resolved that council for the corporation of the municipality of St. Charles agrees to enter into an agreement with Manitoulin Sudbury District Services Board for a one-time food bank funding in the amount of $4,000.
All those in favor? Carried. Mover and seconder for the $4,000 intended for meal program. Councilor Loftus and Councilor Lachance?
Moved by Councilor Loftus and seconded by Councilor Lachance, be it resolved that council for the corporation of the municipality of St. Charles agrees to enter into an agreement with Manitoulin Sudbury District Services Board for a one-time food bank funding in the amount of $4,000 bracket meal program.
All those in favor? Carried. Next, can I have a mover and a seconder for the grant for the CCAP? Councilor Framboise, Councilor Lachance?
Moved by Councilor LaFramboise and seconded by Councilor Lachance, be it resolved that council for the corporation of the municipality of St. Charles agrees to enter into an agreement with Manitoulin Sudbury District Services Board for a one-time food bank funding in the amount of $14,690.
All those in favor? Carried. Okay, thank you. Next item, 7.61, report to council, quarterly report public work. Are you handling
The
this?
Director of Operations sends her regrets. This report was for information only, and if council has any question, to forward it to her, and she would follow up at a constant follow-up
Okay.
meeting.
And I would imagine if any counselor sends questions, then it would come back in next, our
Yeah.
next meeting.
Unless it's a financial question or something
Yeah.
that we can answer.
Okay, all right. So therefore, we're at the last resolution. Who wants to move that?
Motion closed?
Yeah. Councilor Lachance and Councilor Loftus.
Moved by Councilor Lachance and seconded by Councilor Loftus, be it resolved that the committee of the whole meeting of May 7, 2025 be adjourned at 8:03 p.m.
All those in favor? Carried. Meeting is adjourned.